So this was quite a while ago. I'd say, about 11 to 12 when this happened. One night, we had decided to get food from a pizza place around us that was close, but not close enough that they would deliver to us. About 20 to 30 minutes away, I'd say. The trip there was fine. We got our food and were on our way home when we decided to stop at a gas station on the way home. When leaving the gas station, a dark, burgundy car pulled out behind us. At first, obviously, this didn't raise any red flags, but as we kept going and getting closer to home, this car was still following us, and we were starting to get freaked out. It followed us the whole way home. Once we got home, we pulled in, and this car just stopped in the middle of the road a bit behind us. My mom told me not to get out of the car. We sat there for about 10 minutes until this car finally decided to drive past us. I was so scared I didn't even look at the car. I didn't want to see who was in it. They turned at the next block. My mom told me not to get out of the car and run to the house as fast as I could because she was worried they were just going to drive around the block. We got out, ran to the house, and locked the door. I don't know if they ever came back, and I never saw that car again. This took place in the summer of 2022, and I just never thought of writing down this story because I was so stunned that it happened to me. So, every summer in my city, me and my friends like to make small campfires and chill in secluded areas because we don't want to drive an hour to an actual campsite and pay any campsite fee to do so. There's this one spot near my house that's located by a river that's really nice because no one usually goes there. The only thing to be worried about are bears, because living in the Pacific Northwest is challenging like that, and my house is specifically located right next to mountains and forests. So one particular night at 11 p.m., I decided to go ahead of my friends and meet them at the spot and set things up early because I want us to be chilling once they all get there. The spot I get has a 2-minute paved walkway I have to go through, and then I have to take a small trail, ramping down the right side of the bridge that crosses over the river. Along this paved walkway is 2 lamps located at halfway and another at the start of the bridge, and the ramp down to the campfire spot. I park my car at the beginning of the trail in the street and bring my campfire stuff like flashlight, lighter, small firewood, small shovel to dig out the pit, etc. I get to the spot, and it's a small sandy beach kind of embankment on the side of the river with a small waiting area for toddlers with their families during the hot summers. So I set up the chair, and I get to digging the pit with only my flashlight illuminating where I'm digging. I'm also just shoveling the sand right next to me, nowhere near the water, but all of a sudden I hear a loud splash. A splash so loud that it can only come from something equally large, like a 2-hand-sized rock. I'm confused because I swear I'm not throwing my sand into the water, even though I'm only a few feet away. I shine my flashlight at the water and I don't see anything, so I kind of just brush it off, thinking I'm just hearing things. But as I keep shoveling a bit more, I hear another splash. At this point, I think something is falling from above because logically, something must be falling into the water. I point the flashlight above where some trees are above the river, and I don't see anything big enough to make the splash. So, as I keep digging, with my heart rate kinda going at this point, I hear a rustling past the arc of where the bridge goes over the river. I quickly grab my light and shine it towards where I heard the rustling. I call out, "Hello?" No response. In my head, if it was a bear, I should be getting out of there immediately, but there was no bear or signs of anything for that matter. So I tell myself I'm just hearing things now, because I've seen horror movies before, and now my mind is playing tricks on me. But I hear the noise again, and it clearly sounds like leaves being rustled, so I shine my flashlight over to the area again. As I focus my eyes towards the illuminated area, I see the naked back of a man hunched over. I was kind of frozen in anxiety and stress because honestly, of all the things I was to see, I didn't think I'd see the naked back of a man. From the quick analysis my brain could muster up, he looked to be mid-40s, shaved not bald, and medium-ish build, like a mix between chubby and built. As I had my flashlight staying on his back, he started to stand up, and the first thing I noticed was that he wasn't wearing any pants either. My next reflex was to start packing up all my crap and getting the heck out of there, because now I'm piecing in my head that he must have been throwing things into the water to scare or shoo me away. So after using my reflexive deductive skills, I proceeded to speed walk out of there with all my stuff. I'm carrying all my things with me and briskly walk up the small ramp, and I'm on the paved path now out of the forest. I can feel my heart beating in my chest, and I'm frequently looking back to make sure I'm not being followed. I'm in Crocs, mind you, so I'm hoping that if I have to book it out of there, I'd regret not being in sport mode from the get-go. I make it to the halfway point, and a sense of relief starts setting in, knowing I made it safely out of this very scary situation. But as I check behind me for the final time, I see something. Slowly creeping over the ramp is the naked man crawling on all fours, as if he was primate walking. His head was positioned towards me, looking at me as he made his way to the middle of the paved walkway. He slowly gets up from his stance and starts standing on his feet, and positions his body to face me. After setting himself into his new position, the man starts running towards me. I freaking book it, and I run as hard as I can down the path. My flashlight jumped out of my pocket, and I lost it, but I didn't care, because a whole naked man was chasing me at 11 p.m. at night in a secluded forest. I looked back for a split second, and the man was still running towards me, still completely naked. He could have my flashlight for all I care. I wanted to make it out of this situation alive. I finally make it out of the forest, and I run to my car, which is only 30 feet away from the end of the forest. I desperately get to my car, and like a classic horror movie, I fumble with trying to get my key fob to unlock my door. I actually drop my keys and quickly think to myself, I'm actually dead. But I brush the thought off and pick them back up. I get my fob properly, unlock my doors, and throw my things into the back seat before getting into my car. This felt like an eternity, but in hindsight, most likely took 6 seconds altogether. As I try to guide my key into the ignition, I am fixated on the end of the paved path that I was just at a few seconds ago, waiting to see if the naked man was coming still. I feel my key go into the ignition, and I switch my sights onto the road in front of me, and I zoom out of the area as fast as possible. As I drive away, and I'm a good 30 seconds from the location of the horror that just took place, I get a call on my phone. It was my friends calling me asking if I made it to the spot yet, and all I say is to them, "Guys, do I have a crazy story to tell you?" They pull up to my house because again, it was actually decently close to the campfire area, and I tell them the whole story the way that I told it just now. They swear that it was none of them trying to prank me or anything like that, and I also knew none of them would try to full sprint at me with their dong out. But as we're just talking out in front of my house, there's a college student who looks like he's walking home that's going towards the direction of where I encountered the naked man. I just yelled out to him, "Yo, be careful, there's a naked man that was chasing me by the bridge that crosses over the river." He responds saying, "Oh dang, really? I gotta go over that bridge to go home, All I tell him is, "Good luck, man." The next day, I reported it to the police by phone, but they sent over an officer so I could tell them in person and show them where in the area I saw these things. When we went to see where I initially saw the man's back hunched over, they said they didn't see any trace of anyone being there previously, but the officer said they would make note of it anyways in case it happens again. Some friends say it's a skinwalker. Others say more realistically it's either a homeless, mentally ill, or a drunk high person. One theory I've heard my friends say is that it's a future version of me pulling a prank on past version of me, because honestly, when is time travel real? I would totally screw with my younger self like that. This is the only crazy story I have, but dang, is it a story that I will never forget. Quick of a backstory. I'm a 32-year-old male, and my brother is a 28-year-old male. And our disabled mom all live together in a trailer about 30 minutes from Nashville, Tennessee. I was wary of moving there at first for the stereotypes you may hear about trailer parks, but luckily, we've had zero issues in the 10 years we've been here. Very nice neighbors, well-kept yards, etc., etc. So about a week ago, we were finally putting up our Christmas tree, drinking probably too much beer, listening to Christmas music. Christmas spirit in full swing. During our random banter, my brother says, "Oh yeah, I can't believe I forgot to tell you earlier today at work. The owner had to kick out some guy who was acting super creepy." My brother works as a stalker at a family-owned little supermarket, about a mile from our home. He went on to tell me this younger-looking guy was pacing the aisles, sometimes standing still for minutes at a time, and not responding when the owner would ask if he needed help finding something. After about 20 minutes of this, the owner asked him to please leave because he was scaring the customers, and without a word, he left. We continue with our good time, hanging ornaments, drinking, getting our mom involved with the ornaments, not drinking of course, and all is good. We wrap up about 10:30 and help our mom get to bed, and decide we might as well finish off the ton of beer we have left and admire our decked out tree. Around 11:30, we decide to go out on the front porch to share a cigarette as we usually do when we tie down a good buzz. My brother opens the door and almost immediately closes it. I ask what's up, and he says, "Holy, the guy I was telling you about, just like Michael Myers, walked down the street past our house." I thought that was pretty strange, but wasn't super concerned. We waited for a few minutes, then went and smoked as usual and went back inside. My brother and I aren't troublemakers at all, but I'm pretty confident in our ability to defend ourselves if we have to. At this point, these are just thoughts in the back of my mind, though, after all, I haven't even seen this guy yet. Fast forward to about 2 a.m. We're more than drunk enough to go ahead and call it a night after one more ciggy. My brother opens the door, and within seconds I hear him say, Whoa, hey man, you good? Hey buddy, what's up? You good?" I'm in the kitchen at the time, but quickly decide this doesn't sound right and rush over to the door. What I see when I get to the open door is a younger man standing out on our deck about 3 feet from our front door. He's pretty tall, about 6'4", and another thing I notice is he looks a lot like Adam Driver, which is detail my brother jokingly mentioned earlier during tree time. So I'm realizing for the first time, this must be the guy he's been talking about. One thing my brother must have not got close enough to notice at work, though, was this guy's eyes. I'm not exaggerating when I say I've never seen anything like it. His body language wasn't super menacing, but his eyes were the strangest combination of wide-eyed bewilderment and fury. Like us opening our front door confused him and also made him very, very angry. I joined my brother in explaining to him that it's late and he should head home. After what I said was about 30 seconds of staring, he just walked off without a word. I peeked out of our blinds to make sure he really left and saw nothing. We both tried to laugh it off and were saying things like, "Well, that was pretty weird, huh?" But it took a while for my adrenaline to taper off. The thing I kept thinking to myself that bothered me was those 30 seconds to me felt like he was the one deciding what the next move would be. But what that could have been, I have no idea. I also didn't love that my brother said when he opened the door he was already standing there, so for how long? We calmed down watching YouTube videos, and after another 30 minutes or so, I say to my brother, "Okay man, let's just go to bed. I'll take one more look outside to be safe," but felt like it wasn't really necessary. I open the door, and he's back again. The streetlights are spaced very far apart in our trailer park, but at the edge of our driveway, there, I see his silhouette probably 50 feet away just staring at our front door. I feel I should mention, he's not there texting or on the phone with someone, he's just there. I feel bad in hindsight, because I'm sure this poor guy definitely has mental health issues, but between being drunk and exhausted and the look he gave us earlier, I was over it. I finally put some bass in my voice and said, "Hey man, you can't just stand in our driveway, you're being creepy dude, just please leave, I really don't want to call the cops on you, so don't make me." This seemed to work. His demeanor didn't change at all, but the word cop seemed to do the trick. He turned around and walked away. I hope we handled it well. I understand and empathize with people with mental health problems and have friends and family who unfortunately suffer from those things. However, I still can't shake the feeling that something bad could have happened that night. He didn't finally leave our porch earlier that night until I showed up to the door, essentially making him outnumbered. And even then, still he came back after. I hope he's okay out there. We haven't seen him since. I also hope not calling the police wasn't a bad choice, and that he isn't out there with bad intentions on someone else's front deck at 2 a.m. who lives alone or is elderly. I wish I could have figured out what that was all about, but during every interaction me and my brother had with him that day and night, he never spoke a word.